The streets
Hold on,
were
boy. I'll
unusually
get you free.
quiet that evening.
There you go.
The
Go on,
kind of
play.
silence that makes every sound sharper, every movement
Hold on,
more
boy. I'll get you
noticeable.
free.
Rain
There you
drizzled
go. Go
steadily,
on, play.
leaving the asphalt slick and reflective, glistening under the dim glow of streetlights. Most of the town had retreated indoors, doors locked, lights dimmed, and the soft hum of televisions leaking through windows. But not everyone was safe. Somewhere, in the maze of wet alleys and side streets, a tiny figure darted desperately, its small paws slapping against the slippery pavement, making almost no sound at all under the storm's rhythm. It was a puppy, no more than a few months old, soaked to the bone, with fur clinging to its tiny frame and eyes wide with fear and determination. Its ears were pressed flat against its head, and its little tail quivered like a metronome, keeping time with its frantic heartbeats. It paused only briefly to sniff the air, ears twitching as if listening to something only it could hear. Then it bolted again, zigzagging between parked cars, weaving around puddles, heading in a single urgent direction. Suddenly, headlights cut through the darkness, a police cruiser, its lights flashing faintly in the wet night. The puppy skidded to a halt, staring at the vehicle as though it had found a beacon of hope. Its tiny body trembled with urgency. It barked once, sharply, piercing the night. Then again, louder this time, yipping as if it were shouting, "Follow me! Hurry!" The officers inside the car froze for a moment, surprised by the sight of such a tiny creature acting with such determination. The puppy darted ahead, stopping at the edge of the street to make sure the car had noticed it. It barked and pawed at the tires, circling the vehicle, refusing to leave until it was sure someone had understood its silent plea. The officers exchanged glances, puzzled but intrigued. One of them rolled down the window just slightly, and the puppy's nose twitched, sniffing the air, sensing that these strangers might be its only chance to save someone dear. It barked again, a high-pitched, urgent sound, then turned toward a narrow alley, pausing to look back as if to say, "This way. Come on." Without a second thought, the officers followed, tires splashing through shallow puddles, their headlights cutting through the foggy mist that had settled low over the street. The puppy led them through twists and turns, its pace relentless, occasionally glancing over its shoulder to make sure they were still behind. Every instinct in its tiny body screamed danger, and yet it pushed forward, fueled by a courage far beyond its size. It wasn't just fear driving it, it was love, pure and unyielding, for the one it could not leave behind. The farther they went, the more obvious it became that the puppy was leading them somewhere important, somewhere dangerous. The rain pattered against the cruiser's roof like a soft drumbeat, echoing the rhythm of the puppy's urgent heart, until finally, at the far end of the alley, it skidded to a stop, barking furiously at a shadowed corner. Its mission had only just begun, and yet in that small, soaked form, the officers could see something extraordinary, an unwavering determination that demanded to be followed. The puppy skidded to a stop at the mouth of a narrow alley, its tiny body trembling, eyes wide and desperate. It barked again, sharp and urgent, pawing at the wet bricks as though trying to dig through the walls themselves. The officers slowed the cruiser, glancing around at the dim shadows that stretched across the alley like dark fingers. Rainwater pooled in the uneven cobblestones, reflecting the flashing lights in a fractured, dizzying pattern. For a moment the alley seemed empty, silent, and uninviting, but the puppy refused to back down. It darted forward, backpedaled, barked again, and then took off running down a narrower path that twisted behind the buildings. One officer muttered under his breath, "What on earth is it chasing?" But another shook his head, gripping the wheel tightly. There was something in the puppy's determination, something almost human, that made it impossible to ignore. They followed, tires splashing through shallow puddles, headlights bouncing over damp walls and flickering signs. The alley seemed to stretch longer than it should, the darkness thickening with each step, the storm amplifying the feeling of isolation. And then, in a dim corner, the puppy stopped and barked louder than ever, crouching low as if guarding something. The officers slowed even more, stepping cautiously out of the vehicle. The little dog ran in circles, barking and nudging their boots, urging them toward the shadowed corner. As their eyes adjusted to the darkness, the officers finally saw it, an indistinct, shivering shape beneath a pile of fallen debris. At first it was impossible to tell what it was, only that it made a soft, pitiful whine and could not move. Then they realized with a shock that it was a dog, an adult dog, tangled and trapped beneath broken planks, its fur wet and matted, eyes wide with fear. The puppy leapt onto the debris, pawing frantically at the boards, whining and nuzzling, trying to get its mother free. The officers exchanged a quick glance, and without hesitation, they sprang into action. They lifted the heavy planks, struggling under the weight as the storm poured around them, water running down their arms and dripping into their eyes. The mother dog whimpered softly, muscles stiff from fear and exhaustion, but she did not struggle against the officers. She seemed to understand that these strangers had come to help. The puppy never left her side, pressing close, barking warnings at anyone who got too near, refusing to let go for even a second. Finally, with one last heave, the last plank was moved, and the mother dog collapsed into the officer's arms, trembling violently. The puppy leapt onto her back, circling and nuzzling, licking away the water that soaked her fur, letting her know that she was safe. The officers looked on, amazed. In that moment, soaked, cold and surrounded by darkness, the tiny puppy had led them straight to the exact spot where help was needed. Its courage and determination had defied its size, defied the storm, and defied every expectation of what a small creature could do. As the rain continued to fall around them, the officers knelt beside the pair, stroking the mother dog gently while the puppy pressed closer, as if claiming victory. The fear that had filled the alley moments ago was replaced by a quiet awe, a sense that something extraordinary had happened, something that went far beyond ordinary heroism. The puppy had guided them here to a rescue that might never have happened otherwise, and in its bright, unwavering eyes, they saw a bravery that would be remembered long after the storm passed. The mother dog lay shivering beneath the shelter of the officers' careful hands, her body trembling not just from the cold rain, but from the terror and exhaustion of being trapped. Each shiver seemed to echo through the alley, a small, fragile sound that made the puppy whine urgently, pawing at her side as if to say, "You're okay now, you're safe." The officers worked quickly, their hands slick with rainwater, trying to lift the last stubborn planks that pinned her down. The wood was heavy and jagged, soaked through with water, but every time they hesitated, the puppy barked sharply, urging them forward. Its tiny voice carried the weight of desperation, and the men could feel the urgency in every frantic movement. Finally, with a last synchronized effort, the debris was lifted, and the mother dog was freed. She collapsed onto the wet ground, her body trembling violently, muscles stiff from hours of strain and fear. The puppy leapt instantly onto her back, circling her with frantic energy, pressing its tiny body against her, licking her face, nuzzling her neck, trying to chase away the memory of the pain and danger she had endured. The officers knelt around them, giving the mother dog space, while gently checking her limbs for injuries. She flinched slightly at their touch, but the puppy stayed close, barking softly at any sudden movement, as if guarding her with every ounce of courage it had. The rain fell harder now, pounding the pavement and turning the alley into a small river. But the puppy didn't care. Its focus was unbroken, a fierce, unwavering devotion to the one it loved. It refused to leave her side, circling back repeatedly to nuzzle her ears, lick her face, and reassure her that the danger had passed. The officers, watching this tiny creature act with such determination and courage, felt a surge of admiration. Here was a hero without armor, without weapons, yet its bravery had saved a life tonight. It had led them straight to the exact place where the mother dog was trapped, guiding every step with instinct, intelligence, and a love that refused to be ignored. As the mother dog slowly lifted her head, the puppy pressed closer, nudging her softly, whining with relief. The connection between them was undeniable, a bond that transcended words. The officers gently moved back, giving them space, and the puppy took the opportunity to curl against her, its tiny body shivering alongside hers, but no longer with fear, only relief. The mother dog pressed into the puppy, a soft whine escaping her lips, and the officers realized that the reunion itself was a victory. an emotional triumph born not just from rescue, but from the raw, unshakable love that had driven this small creature through danger. For a few moments, time seemed to stand still. Rain fell in steady sheets around them, the city noise muted by the storm, and the alley became a world apart, a place where courage, loyalty, and love were the only rules. The puppy looked up at the officers, eyes bright and proud, and then back at its mother, nuzzling her once more. It was as if to say, "We made it. We're safe now." And in that instant, everyone around them, wet, tired, and cold, felt the undeniable truth of what had just happened. Sometimes, the smallest heroes carry the biggest hurts, and sometimes love alone is enough to change everything. The rain began to lighten, turning from a relentless downpour to a gentle drizzle that pattered softly against the pavement, washing the alley in a silvery glow. The mother dog, now free from the crushing debris, slowly regained her strength, shaking herself off and standing on wobbly legs. The puppy stayed by her side, pressing against her constantly, letting her know that she was no longer alone, that the danger had passed. Each step she took was tentative at first, muscles stiff and trembling, but the puppy's tiny presence was a steady reassurance, a reminder that someone cared enough to risk everything for her. The officers stood back, their hearts swelling with awe at the scene before them. They had seen courage in human form many times, but never like this. Never in something so small, so seemingly fragile, yet so fearless. The puppy, soaked and shivering, looked up at them with wide, intelligent eyes, as if understanding that their help had been vital, yet knowing that it had been its own persistence and love that had truly saved the day. One officer knelt down, offering a hand slowly, and the puppy sniffed it cautiously before returning to nuzzle its mother, refusing to leave her side even for a moment. As the storm began to break, the first slivers of moonlight shone through the clouds, illuminating the wet alley and casting a magical glow over the scene. The mother dog, now standing tall and steady, looked down at the tiny puppy with what could only be described as gratitude. She nudged it gently with her nose, and the puppy responded with a soft whine of joy spinning around her legs, wagging its tiny tail like a banner of triumph. The officers could only smile, realizing that they were witnessing something extraordinary, a reunion, a rescue, and a celebration of courage all rolled into one. The puppy's actions had not only saved a life, but had reminded everyone present of a truth often forgotten in the rush of daily life. That bravery is not measured in size or strength, but in heart. The small dog had faced the storm, navigated the dark alleys, and guided strangers to its trapped mother without hesitation, driven by pure love and loyalty. The officers, wet and weary, felt a warmth spread through them, despite the cold night. They watched as the puppy continued to circle its mother, keeping her close, refusing to let go. A tiny guardian against a world that could be cruel and unpredictable. Eventually, the mother dog settled beside her little hero, lying down gently on the wet pavement, and the puppy curled up against her, their bodies pressed together for comfort and reassurance. The storm had passed, leaving the streets glistening and the night calm, but the memory of what had just occurred lingered like a living thing. The puppy, small yet unstoppable, had changed the night forever. Its bravery had rewritten the rules of heroism, proving that even the smallest among us can make the greatest difference. And as the officers turned back toward their cruiser, the sound of the tiny dog's contented sighs echoed in their ears, a quiet reminder that some heroes speak without words, and some miracles are carried on 4 tiny paws.